If the old bus had not broken down that evening, no one on board would have learned why locals feared the stretch of road known as Silent Mile. But fate rarely cares for warnings, and as the engine coughed its final breath beneath a bruised sunset sky, 20 tired students found themselves stranded between endless cornfields that swayed without wind, whispering in a language only the dead could understand. And though their coach tried to keep everyone calm, a strange uneasiness settled on the group the moment the headlights flickered out, leaving the bus lit only by dying daylight and the buzzing glow of emergency lights that cast long, trembling shadows down the aisle like fingers reaching for escape. Some students joked at first, laughing half-heartedly about serial killers or spooky farmhouses, but the laughter thinned when a cold silence pressed against the windows from outside. A silence not empty but listening, as if something beyond the corn waited for their voices to break the stillness. When the coach stepped off the bus to check the tires, promising he'd radio for help, the students watched him disappear into the tall stalks, flashlight bobbing like a yellow firefly swallowed whole. And they waited until his flashlight blinked 3 times like an alarm and then vanished altogether, followed by a sound that no one could describe. Not a scream, not an animal, but something between breath and hunger, as if the darkness itself inhaled. Panic spread as the sun finally collapsed behind the horizon, and night poured over the land like ink, forcing everyone back inside. Doors locked, windows shut, as if the thin walls of the bus could protect them from whatever now stalked the road. And though they whispered one another's names to stay calm, a different voice sometimes answered from the back seats even when no one was sitting there, a voice too low to understand but close enough that they felt its breath against their necks, and one by one, students began claiming they saw something outside, first a shape in the corn, bent and tall, watching with eyes that glowed like coals in a dying hearth, then chains dragging along the gravel road, though no metal touched the ground, followed by distant footsteps circling the bus, even though the dirt should have muffled every sound. And each time someone tried to peek out through the curtains, the others begged them not to, because somehow they all felt that looking too closely would allow it to see inside them. Hours stretched, fear fermented, and bold voices grew quiet, until someone finally shattered the silence with a decision. They had to walk. Had to leave the bus and find help before dawn, because the road felt alive, pulsing, breathing, watching, and staying still would be slower death than running. But the moment they opened the doors, the air tasted wrong like metal and rot, and the temperature plunged so sharply their breath fogged into shapes that twisted like skeletal hands. Still, they formed a line and walked, flashlights trembling in their grasp, the bus shrinking behind them as moonlight spilled across the empty road, revealing that the pavement held footprints, deep impressions, like someone had walked barefoot while carrying the weight of graves. And the farther they walked, the more they sensed something following them, something that scraped the asphalt in a rhythm matching their heartbeat, something that hummed low and ancient. A melody older than the fields, the town, the world. Tara, the quietest among them, claimed she heard a voice whispering her name through the corn, promising that if she only stepped off the road, she would never feel alone again. And though they grabbed her arm to keep her from wandering away, her eyes had already begun to glaze, as if she saw someone familiar waiting among the stalks, someone she once loved, someone dead. Another student swore they saw a figure ahead of them, walking just out of reach, holding a lantern that flickered blue like trapped souls burning from the inside. And each time they tried to catch up, the figure drifted farther away while the lantern light grew brighter behind them, instead of ahead, shifting positions like a cruel trick of fate. Eventually, exhaustion forced them to stop at an abandoned farmhouse, where the windows had no glass, only curtains that fluttered through the air was still, and the front door hung on rusted hinges as if it had been ripped open from within. And though every instinct begged them to keep walking, they stepped inside for shelter, guided by the false comfort of walls that smelled of dust, dried flowers, and old grief. The floorboards groaned beneath their feet as they huddled in the living room. But the sound was not the wood. It was something beneath the floor, something that shifted when they spoke, as if crawling closer to where the boards thinned, seeking warmth through cracks. Someone found a framed photograph on the mantel, an old school bus parked outside that very house, windows fogged from inside. And though the students in the photo wore decades-old clothes, their eyes looked familiar, too familiar, as if the same fear etched those faces that now clung to the group huddled in the dark. Before they could process it, The front door slammed shut, though they had never touched it, and every curtain dropped at once. Painfully, the floor began to bulge, rising plank by plank, as if something beneath the boards pressed upward with patient hunger. They fled screaming back to the road, never looking back even when they heard nails tearing, free and wood splintering behind them, and once more the footsteps followed, louder now, dragging chains that left no marks on the concrete, until finally, through tears and breathless terror, they saw headlights in the distance, an approaching truck, hope roaring in their chest like a second heartbeat. But when the vehicle slowed, the driver's face was hidden in shadow and only his voice came through the rolled-down window, calm and familiar, saying, "You shouldn't have left the bus. I locked it to keep you safe." And they recognized the voice as the coach's, though his face was wrong, stitched like a map of scars, and when they stepped back in horror, he whispered again. Curiosity always feeds the road, and the truck pulled away, taillights vanishing as suddenly as he had disappeared hours ago. With dawn still far away and no safe refuge in sight, they continued walking until the cornfields ended and the road forked into two paths, one leading toward town, the other toward a forest, blacker than night, and while they debated which way to go, a soft humming rose behind them, the same melody from the bus but closer now, almost touching their skin, and when they turned they saw the bus. Headlights flickering weakly, doors wide open, engine idling though no one sat behind the wheel, and the faint echo of their own voices, called from inside as if someone recorded them and played the memories back. Someone whispered that maybe they should get in, maybe the bus could still carry them home, but another voice, shaking, cracking, begged them not to, because legend said the bus drove only one way once abandoned, taking passengers not to safety but to where the road ends, and the road always ends beneath the earth. Fear split the group. Some ran toward the town, others hesitated near the bus, unable to decide which horror they feared less, and as the sky lightened with false dawn, a final scream shattered the silence, but no one could tell if it came from the bus or the forest or the corn or their own memories, because the road swallowed sound the same way it swallowed the foolish. And by the time the real sun rose, Silent Mile was empty again except for the scent of rust, the hum of forgotten chains, and the bus idling patiently as if waiting for the next engine to fail, for the next night to fall, for the next group of curious souls to mistake hunger for safety. And somewhere deep beneath the asphalt, where roots tangled with bones no one remembered burying, something ancient smiled as it listened to the fading echoes of footsteps, because everything on that road eventually walks back to where silence feeds, and silence never forgets the taste of those who dared to break it.